Welcome back to Game Talk 24/7. I'm your host, Josh Cunningham. Before we get to the video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and like the video. It really means a lot. It really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, don't be afraid to comment down below. Without further ado, let's talk sports. Hey guys, welcome back to Game Talk 24/7. Today, it is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. I just started some new classes, so I have finally adjusted to my schedule a little bit. So I'm sorry for only one video last week, but we're going to get back to more of our normal schedule. But before you know, we had playoff games last week, NFL and college football, and one yesterday. But before we get to that, we've got some breaking news. So Mike Tomlin steps down from being the head coach after losing 7 consecutive playoff games with the Pittsburgh Steelers, tying Marvin Lewis for the most consecutive playoff losses in a row. So he has lost his last 7 playoff games with the Steelers. His last 7 playoff games. So that doesn't mean he's been there 7 years in a row and lost. It just means he's lost his last 7 playoff games with the Steelers. That's not good. Again, tying Marvin Lewis for the most playoff losses in consecutive playoff losses. That's pretty bad if you're tying Marvin Lewis. I mean, a lot of Bengals fans know that that's pretty bad if you're tying Marvin Lewis. That's not some company you want to be in. But I mean, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski, 3 AFC coaches all either stepping down or being fired. John Harbaugh has been with the Ravens since 2008. Mike Tomlin's been with the Steelers since 2007. And then, well, Kevin Stefanski, while he hasn't been with the Browns for as long, his tenure was cut shorter than maybe some would have hoped. But again, the only AFC North coach remaining is Zach Taylor. And boy, is that a shock. If I told you right now, John Harbaugh gets fired, Mike Tomlin steps down, Kevin Stefanski gets fired, and Zach Taylor is sitting atop of the AFC North as the only head coach left after this season, what would you all be saying? You'd be saying I was crazy. You'd be saying I was high. Well, I'm not. Maybe the Bengals ownership is, but I am not. And, well, it is quite surprising that Zach Taylor is still the head coach of the Bengals and that he's the only head coach remaining in the AFC North. And do I see that changing? No, I do not. On other news, the Eagles fired their offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo. And then also, we have some transfer portal commits. LSU, Lane Kiffin, he gets their quarterback, and Sam Leavitt. Josh Hoover commits to Indiana, so Kurt Cignetti gets his next quarterback. Kurt Cignetti is just a phenomenal coach. He's done a phenomenal job at Indiana. We'll talk about that playoff game against Oregon in a second, but I mean, he's done a phenomenal job there so far. Dylan Raiola goes to Oregon, even if Dylan Raiola goes to Oregon, even if Dante Moore decides to stay in college instead of going into the draft. Now, Dante Moore is expected to be a first-round pick, but does he go? Does he stay? Does he go? Does he stay? We don't know yet. If he stays, then Dylan Raiola is probably going to stay at Oregon and get the Dante Moore treatment of sit for a year, develop, and then become a starter. But no, those are just 3 big quarterbacks that have committed to higher or bigger schools that we've been talking about. Sam Leavitt going to LSU, kind of expected. Lane Kiffin got his quarterback. He got what you expected. Josh Hoover going to Indiana. Dylan Raiola going to Oregon. Lane Kiffin wasn't going to get trained out of Chambliss because he said he was going to stay at Ole Miss if he gets an extra year of eligibility. So those are just the biggest commits right now. Also, there's a lot of players in the transfer portal. It's crazy. There's a lot of commits. I'm not going to go every single one because I would make your brain explode, and it would also make my brain explode. And then a question that just asking after yesterday's playoff game: should Aaron Rodgers retire? Is it time for him to take a step down and take his legacy off into the sunset? Because, I mean, didn't end well with the Jets. Got the Steelers to the playoffs, but the playoffs didn't end well. Is that because of him, or is that because not him, but the team around him? Or is it some of both? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is getting old. He said he's not going to make any decisions yet because he doesn't want to make decisions based off emotion, so he's going to just step away, take time off before he decides. But could yesterday against the Texans and that loss in the playoffs be the last time we see Aaron Rodgers play an NFL football game? And then if so, what does he do after that? Does he want to go into coaching? Does he want to become an analyst, or does he just want to live his life? That's another question. But now, without further ado, let's get into some playoff games. We have a lot of games to talk about, and so we're going to do it. Starting now, Indiana versus Oregon. Indiana waxed Oregon 56-22. I did not expect that. I mean, it was mind-blowing. It was 35-7 at halftime. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, man, Oregon's getting waxed again like in the playoffs like they did last year against Ohio State. Yikes. That was rough. Fernando Mendoza didn't have a crazy amount of yards, but he had a crazy amount of completions. He threw more touchdowns than he threw incompletions. He went 17-20, 177 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And it's not because that they couldn't move the ball. It's because they got short field a lot due to their defense getting turnovers. Dante Moore threw an interception. Dante Moore also had 2 fumbles that they lost. And so, again, Indiana's defense set their offense up in good positions half the time, which meant Fernando Mendoza and company did not have to drive down the field as much. Dante Moore went 24 for 39, going 285 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. As a team, Oregon only ran for 93 yards. Dyer Hill Jr. had 86 of those yards. Jay Harris had 35, and then Dante Moore had negative 28, since sacks count as rushing yards in college football. It wouldn't hurt to mention that Indiana had 3 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. So they got in the backfield like it was nobody's business. They got in the backfield like most people do, like most people get in the kitchen when they hear grandma's making something and it smells good. Yeah, they got in the backfield like it was nobody's business. And so, again, Indiana's phenomenal. They look like the best team in the country. They look like the team that's going to run with it all. Indiana rushed for a total of 185 yards. Kalen Black had 63 yards on 12 carries, 2 touchdowns. Roman Hemby had 53 yards. Kobe Martin had 42. Fernando Mendoza had 28. They are phenomenal. Elijah Surratt had 75 yards. Charlie Becker has emerged at the second half of the season to be a phenomenal receiver for Indiana, getting 48 yards, 1 touchdown. Elijah Surratt had 2 touchdowns. Omar Cooper Jr. had a touchdown. E.J. Williams Jr. had a touchdown. They're sharing the love, spreading the ball around. It's quite beautiful to see. Oregon's defense only had 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, and that's where he gets you. You know, one defense performed. They got in the backfield. They shut the other down to an extent. The other one didn't do it as much, or as effectively at all. And also, Fernando Mendoza had 2 fumbles, but they got recovered. So they didn't turn the ball over. Even though he fumbled the ball twice, it went back to his team. So didn't affect them as much. But Indiana's a stud defense. I mean, D'Angelo Pond's first play of the game, interception, pick 6 to the crib. He made himself known right away, and that was first. I mean, it was first drive of the game. I think it was first throw of the game too, and so that was just wow. Indiana, Roots, Oregon. They're going to be going on to play Miami. Who will win that game? That game is next Monday, so I'm not going to make a pick on that until later this week in the next episode. But 56-22, running through Oregon like a bullet train runs through a brick wall. You can't stop it. You can't get his path. Is Kurt Signetti and Indiana on a path to destiny? Are they destined to win the national championship? And will Kurt Signetti's sentiment of, this will be one heck of a movie, going to be true? If they win, yes. I think it'd be a heck of a movie if either team wins, but specifically Indiana. The second most losingest program in college football history. Until November, they were the losingest program in college football history. And Kurt Signetti gets in there and turns them into a national championship, a national caliber program. That is phenomenal. Everybody thinks you need 4 stars or 5 stars. Kurt Signetti says, huh? What? I just need players that are old enough, that are old and play hard and tough and physical. They don't have to be old, but if they play tough and physical, come on over here. We'll put you in the cookie jar. We'll use you. That's what he says. I don't need no 4 stars / 5 stars. I'll take them if they're available, but I don't need them. You say you don't need group of 5 players. Well, guess what? You do, because that's what I'm using, and that's how we're getting success. We're getting just players that work hard and are physical and tough. They might not be the most talented, but they will flat out beat the crap out of you physically like nobody other. Now on to Miami versus Ole Miss. That game came down to the wire. That's kind of what you expected Oregon and Indiana to be, and it wasn't. That game, though, came down to the wire. That game was a phenomenal game. I mean, 18 seconds left or something like that. Carson Beck runs into the end zone. Touchdown, Miami. You think the game's over. Now, we know Miami wins 31-27, but you think the game's over. Miami's up by 4. 18 seconds left. Can Ole Miss drive down the field? Surely not. Let alone get to the 45-yard line, get within almost touchdown range, and almost come this close to winning the game. In those 18 seconds, they drove down the field. They got within about 40 yards of the end zone and threw what you'd call like a short Hail Mary. Incomplete. Ole Miss fans will ask for a flag. They'll say, was that pass interference? I'll say, I don't know. You could say yes, you could say no. There was a lot of hand fighting on both sides, but the Miami player did grab the Ole Miss wide receiver by the collar of the neck and his pads and kind of throw him to the ground. And so you can say that was pass interference or not. And I know people say the refs shouldn't throw the flag there because you don't want them deciding a game. But isn't that their job? Their job is to throw a flag whenever a flag is supposed to be thrown. You say, oh, but I don't want a ref throwing a flag on a questionable call a minute left in the game. But isn't that their job? If they see something that is a penalty, they're supposed to throw the flag. It doesn't matter whether there's a minute left and it could be questionable or not. They have a job to do, and they're supposed to do it. So don't say, I don't want refs throwing the flag with a minute left in the game because I don't want them to decide the outcome. Guess what? If the ref throws the flag there and it becomes called a pass interference, it's a 15-yard penalty. It's not a spot penalty. It's like it is in the NFL. It is a 15-yard penalty in college football. So Indiana gets moved to the 30-yard line, maybe the 25, maybe the 35, depending where the ball was at. And they have to run another play. And guess what? Let's say that Ole Miss, sorry. Ole Miss moves to the 35, 30, or 25-yard line, depending where the ball is at. And they have to run another play. Guess what? If Ole Miss scores there, guess what Miami fans will be saying? We lost the game because the ref called a pass interference on a play that wasn't a pass interference. No, you lost because the ref called a pass interference on the play before. Then, guess what? You didn't lose because of that. You lost because after that pass interference call, you had one more play to make, and you didn't execute. And the other team did. So guess what? People saying, we don't want refs deciding games. Well, guess what? An outcome of telling a ref not to throw a flag there because you want them to decide games, they can decide a game. Because if it's a penalty, there should be a flag. It doesn't matter if it's the end of a game or not. That's how that goes. That's how that works. So if there's a penalty there, then you throw the flag. If there's not, then you don't. Again, I don't know what I would have called it if I was a ref. I'd have to actually see it again. But I don't know what I'd call it. But what I do know is you can't say, oh, ref should not throw a flag because it's the end of the game. Because then the ref's not doing his job. He's not doing what he gets paid to do. You all complain about coaches not doing their jobs, not doing what they get paid to do. But then when refs come do what they're supposed to do, you complain. Because guess what? The team that doesn't benefit from the call is going to complain. The team that does, and the team that does benefit from the call is not going to complain. There's two sides to every coin. There's two sides to every argument. And guess what? The ref's job is to be that middle. The middle part of the coin that's not on either side. That's not going to pick sides. That's how that works. And Miami fans are going to say, well, if they call pass interference and then we lose the game, we're going to blame the ref. No, you should then blame your defense because your defense then let Ole Miss score a touchdown from either 25, 30, or 35 yards, depending where the ball would have been placed after the pass interference, if that pass interference got called. And guess what? It did not. So now Ole Miss fans are saying we lost because the ref didn't throw a flag. Guess what? That's not why you lost. You lost because of a lot of other things that happened in that game, like your defense giving up a touchdown with 18 seconds left. That put you down by 4. You lost because you had a 45-yard kind of Hail Mary to go to win the game. And even with that flag, even if that flag was thrown, you still have to go 35, 30, or 25 yards to try and win the game. And it's very unlikely. It's possible, but it's unlikely. But then Ole Miss fans will say, but if they threw that flag like they should have, then we get a second chance at it. And then guess what Miami fans are going to say? Well, we lost because the ref threw a flag and put Ole Miss 35, 30, or 25 yards from the end zone, and they ran a play and they scored a touchdown. Then you lost because your defense didn't execute. There's two sides to both scenarios. Neither answer is correct. The correct answer is if it's a penalty, the ref should throw the flag. If it's not a penalty, the ref should keep it in his pocket. Keep the laundry off the field. That's plain and simple, clear cut. So if it was a pass interference, then the flag should have been thrown. And if it wasn't, then it shouldn't have been. And it wasn't thrown. So based off of the ref's view on that play, it was not a pass interference. Game, set, match, over. Miami wins 31-27. Again, Ole Miss fans can complain about it, but that's not the reason why you lost the game. There were so many other things that happened. But Trinidad Chambliss is amazing. He went 23 of 37, 277 yards, only one touchdown. Yes, he only had one touchdown. He's still amazing, though. But also, that one touchdown limits to why you lost, is one of the reasons why you lost the game. Keywan Lacey had 103 yards, 11 carries. Phenomenal. 9.4 average, one touchdown. You only had one rushing touchdown, one passing touchdown. Another reason why you lost the game. Because Miami had 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, Ole Miss was helped out with their kicker. Their kicker went 4-5 from the field with a long of 58. And he was 100% on his extra points. Ole Miss also completed, I think, a 2-point conversion at some point in that game. Whereas Miami's kicker went 1 of 2 from the field with a long of 38 and 4 of 4 from extra points. So your kicker helped you out if you're Ole Miss. But the difference is you made 4 field goals. They made 1. They made 4 touchdowns. You made 2. Trade 1 of those field goals for a touchdown, you win the game. Trade 2 of those field goals for touchdowns, you win the game. Gotta put the ball in the end zone at times. Carson Beck went 23-37, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's doing what Miami needs him to do. He's not trying to win the game for them. He is trying to be a game manager, which is what they need. Because if he tries to go and play hero ball, they will lose. He's not a bad quarterback, but he's not Trinidad Chambliss, per se. Mark Fletcher's phenomenal. 22 carries, 133 yards, 0 touchdowns. Charmar Brown, 14 carries, 54 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Carson Beck had a touchdown. Both teams were able to just play good football. Pete Golding's going to be a good head coach at Ole Miss is what it seems like if he can replace Charlie Weiss properly and get some more experience in his defense and get it better. That was the problem with Ole Miss. They never really had this strong of a secondary all year because they're younger. And so that kind of showed up in this game in moments. Keelan Marion had 114 yards, 1 touchdown for Miami. Malachi Tony at 81, 1 touchdown. That's the biggest problem in that game for Ole Miss's defense. Both defenses are stout. Ole Miss had 4 sacks and 5 tackles for loss, so their D-line did their job against one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the country, Miami's. Now, Miami was still able to, at the end of the game, move the D-lineman and move the ball downfield and get to that point where Carson Beck scores that touchdown with 18 seconds left. But they did a good job. And then Ole Miss also did a good job of limiting, and mostly with Trinidad Chambliss and his legs, limiting Miami's sacks to only 1 sack and 1 tackle for loss for the game by Muhammad Toure. They didn't let Ruben Bain and Akeem Messerers ruin the game for them in that essence. And so, again, you look at it, you look at the turnovers, and you go, boy, how did Ole Miss lose when they didn't turn the ball over once and Carson Beck threw an interception? And it's because, well, it's all about how did those turnovers come into points, and then also, did you score touchdowns or field goals? And Miami scored touchdowns while Ole Miss scored field goals. That Miami-Indiana game is going to be a really good game. I think Indiana's going to win. I think Indiana's the best team in the country. They might even blow out Miami. Might. It blew out everybody else so far, so I wouldn't be shocked. But that's going to be a good game. Who would have thought Ohio State lost to the 2 teams that are going to be in the national championship? If you're in Columbus, you might want to be feeling a little bit better about yourself, but also a little bit more sad about yourself because maybe if you beat Miami, you'd be there instead. But that's called a what if, and we don't live in what ifs. We live in, oh, well, this happened, and that's what's going on. In the NFL playoffs, you have the first, the second, the third, and the fourth game all being decided by 1 score and by a late touchdown. Let's start with the Rams versus the Panthers, 34-31. The Panthers were 10-point underdogs. I thought the Rams were going to steamroll the Panthers, even though it was in North Carolina. And, well, the Panthers said, not today. Matthew Stafford went 24-42, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's still great. He's still phenomenal. Yeah, he's still Matthew Stafford, so he's still great. He's still phenomenal. Even though his QBR wasn't great, his passer rating was 93.8. He's still really good. Bryce Young went 21-40, 264 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. As a team, the Rams ran for 116 yards, 57 by Kyron Williams, 45 by Blake Corum, a rushing touchdown by Puka Nacua for 14 yards. Who would have thought Puka Nacua was rushing the ball into the end zone? Not me, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to win. The Patriots we'll talk about later. The Panthers had 83 rushing yards, 46 by Chuba Hubbard, 24 by Bryce Young, 1 rushing touchdown by Bryce Young, 2 by Chuba Hubbard. And this was a beautiful game. Again, it came down to, what was it, mere seconds left almost on the clock. Not seconds, but let's see, there was about like 38. Yeah, there was 38 seconds left on the clock. I was going to say 34. And I went to look at the scoring plays. It was 38 by Colby Parkinson catching a touchdown, 19-yard pass from Matthew Stafford. And then once it's kind of there, it's almost written in stone, and their defense held off the Panthers long enough to not give them a chance to score. That's phenomenal. The Rams had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack being by Poona Ford, and the other sack being by Braden Fisk. And then the Panthers had 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 sack and the only sack coming by Travis Gibson. Both teams are good. Kobe Durant had an interception for 11 yards in return for 11 yards. Mike Jackson had 1 interception to return. Both teams look good. Did the Rams look as dominant as we thought they were going to? No, but you also got to give credit to the Panthers. That was a phenomenal game to watch. And you know what else was? It was the Bears and the Packers, an amazing rivalry that we got to see in the playoffs, and that was a phenomenal game to watch. You know, if you had plans, like if you had to go to a wedding, or if you had to go to some family event where you couldn't watch this game, I feel bad for you because you missed a really good game. The Bears win 31-27 after being down 27 to, I don't remember what it was at the time. Actually, what was the score? It was 27-16, down by 11 with 3:32 to go. What happens? Bears touchdown, 2:18 left. Missed field goal by Packers, 1:27 left. Bears touchdown with 1:08 left, and then end of game. Or almost 1:08 left on the clock. End of game. Or touchdown with 1:43 left on the clock, something like that. I don't remember. All I know, it's crazy. Wow. That's all I got to say. Yeah, so 4:18 left, touchdown, Bears. 1:34 left, touchdown, Bears. Bears win 31-27, and they are grating cheese on the set of what we call Amazon Prime in that beautiful football coverage. That was a phenomenal game. Again, it came down to the end of the game. One team scored twice in the fourth quarter. Twice within 5 minutes left. 25 total points in the fourth quarter. And the other team only scored 6. And that was the Packers. Now, it wasn't helpful that the Packers do not have Micah Parsons. Matt LaFleur, people are going to say, is he the coach for him? Yeah, he's a good coach. He's there. He's really good. I can't blame him for not having a great defense when your best defensive player, Micah Parsons, and one of the best in all of football, is injured. That's not his fault. Jordan Love went 24-46, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns. Caleb Williams went 24-48, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The Packers had 2 interceptions. How did they lose? Well, they had 4 fumbles. 3 of them were recovered. So, yeah, I don't know how you lose that. You're winning in the turnover margin, and you somehow lose the game. It's quite crazy. Packers had 99 yards on the ground. You also outrushed them, the Bears, by 6 yards, even though they outpassed you. Did one team score more touchdowns than the other? Again, comes down to that. Josh Jacobs had 55 yards. The Bears had 93 yards. DeAndre Swift had 454 with a rushing touchdown, the only rushing touchdown of the game. All the rest came by passing or other margins of the field. Yeah, this game is actually surprising. Bears kicking went 3 of 3 from the field goals, 2 of 2 in extra points. Sorry, excuse me. Green Bay kicking went 0 of 2 on field goals and 3 of 4 on extra points. That does not help. The Packers had 1 tackle for loss. Lucas Van Ness. 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. The sack coming by Lucas Van Ness. The Bears had 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Austin Booker. And, wow. If you're the Packers, you really think about it. You might have won the turnover margin, and if you did, well, you sold. If you didn't and it was even, you still sold because you gave up 25 points in the fourth quarter, and that's not a winning recipe. That is a recipe to sending you to Cancun for the offseason, because that's where your players are going to go now that their season is over. Or they're going to go home and chill on the couch. One of the two. But, no, that's a phenomenal game. Again, we've had some phenomenal playoff games. The Bills win 27-24, again, on a late game touchdown. That touchdown comes with a minute and 4 seconds left, I think, on the clock, something like that. Josh Allen, 1 yard. He's a big boy. He'll get in there. Josh Allen went 28-35, 273 yards, 1 touchdown. Trevor Lawrence went 18-30, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So once your quarterback throws 1 interception, not helpful. When they throw 2, really not helpful. Especially when the other team only fumbles the ball once, so you lost the turnover margin. Now you were still in the game. But turnovers, well, even if they don't lead to straight points on like pick sixes, they can lead to points on drives after that, and turnovers, not helpful. As a team, Buffalo rushed for 79 yards, 46 by James Cook, 33 by Josh Allen, 2 rushing touchdowns by Josh Allen. The Jacksonville Jaguars ran for 154 yards, 67 by Travis Etienne, and then Bashal Tutton had 51. Trevor Lawrence had 31. 0 rushing touchdowns. So one team gets 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. The other team gets 0 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. It's going to come down to your kicker. And, well, one kicker went 2 of 2 from field goals. And then the Cam Little, the NFL record holder for the longest field goal kick in NFL history, goes 1 of 2 missing a, 48-yard field goal? Something he should make in his sleep, basically, since he made it 67 or 68. I don't remember what his career long is. Actually, let's look. I don't remember what the record is because I just do not remember it. 67. 68. 67. As long as 68. How do you have a long as 68 and miss a 48? That's just my question. Now, accuracy can be a problem with people, and he might have an accuracy issue. He's 88.2% on field goal percentage. Again, might have an accuracy issue, but he does have one heck of a leg. So you would expect him to make a 48-yard field goal. If you can get his accuracy back, not back, but better, and keep that distance, you're going to have yourself one heck of a kicker. Jacksonville had 1 sack. That sack came by Josh Hines Allen. He is phenomenal. And 1 tackle for loss, also coming by Josh Hines Allen. The Bills had 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. The solo sack coming by Greg Russo. Again, the Bills are a solid team. Are they the team to beat in the AFC? Probably not, because there's 2 other teams, one that hasn't played yet, and the one that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and the Patriots that are also really, really good. You also have the 49ers beating the Philadelphia Eagles. The Birds go home, and they decide to fire their offensive coordinator after the game. Nick Sirianni and A.J. Brown getting a big old fight on the sidelines. And, the Eagles didn't fix their problems from the regular season whatsoever. They actually still struggled with them throughout the season. And so, struggled with the problems on the offense. And they didn't fix them throughout the regular season. They didn't fix them in the playoffs either. Jalen Hurts went 20-35, 168 yards, 1 touchdown. He's not the quarterback he's not the type of quarterback that's going to carry you to a win. He's good, but he's not going to put you on your back like a backpack and carry you. Saquon Barkley had 106 yards, 26 carries, 4.1 average, 0 touchdowns. Dallas Goedert had 1 rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley, again, 106 yards. What more can you ask him to do? Besides put the ball in the end zone, what more can you ask him to do? Jalen Hurts didn't have a single rushing touchdown, so no tush push there into the end zone. So you got to get close to the line and do it. And, well, apparently they didn't because they did not get close enough to succeed on the tush push in the end zone. Brock Purdy had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So you're already losing in the turnover margin. But guess what? You still won the game. Juwan Jennings also had a passing touchdown for 29 yards. Who would have thought? Let's throw Juwan Jennings back there. Let's have him throw the ball. Touchdown. Who would have thought Juwan Jennings would throw for a passing touchdown? Not me, but guess what? It's the playoffs. And you got to do what you got to do. And, well, Kyle Shanahan brought everything to the party. He is one heck of an offensive coach, an offensive mind. He's one heck of a head coach, and one heck of an offensive mind. Christian McCaffrey only had 48 yards on 15 carries, so you like to rush the ball more. You like not rush the ball more. You like to get more yards out of your rushing game, but also the Eagles have a stout defensive line. The Eagles have a stout defense in home, in there. So that's tough. Demarcus Robinson had 111 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. My bad for accidentally hitting the camera. Christian McCaffrey had 66 yards, 2 touchdowns. So while he didn't get it on the ground, he got his through the air. Dallas Goedert had 1 receiving touchdown for 33 yards. Devontae Smith had 70 yards. Eagles just were not moving the ball down the field whatsoever. The 49ers had 1 sack by Keon White and 7 tackles for loss. The Eagles had 1 sack and 3 tackles for loss. Jalen Carr had that 1 sack. It's a 4-point game. It's a close game. Again, another beautiful, phenomenal playoff game. That's what we've seen so far with these playoff games is beautiful and phenomenal. Will they stay that way? For the first half of the Patriots and Chargers game, because at halftime it was 6-3. So if you like high-scoring games, well, you ain't getting one here. But if you like close games, you got one. Until the Patriots decided to open up and win 16-3 at the end of the game. Justin Herbert looked like a chicken with its head cut off because he was under pressure all night. He got sacked 6 times. He went 19-31 for 159 yards, 0 touchdowns. He was seeing ghosts back there. I mean, everywhere he looked, he's like, defense. Mostly seeing Fernie Jennings, Marcus Jones, Milton Williams, and Clavon Chasen back there chasing him. He's like, I don't want to play the Patriots again if I'm him. I don't want to play that D line again. He looked like a chicken with his head cut off. More so for the purpose of he had an injured offensive line going into that game, and that's not been beneficial. Justin Herbert had 2 fumbles, 1 lost, 1 recovered. Drake May had 2 fumbles, 1 lost, 1 recovered. Just kind of how that goes. Drake May also threw an interception. So turnover margin's quite clean. Not clean, but comparative to both teams. Drake May went 17-29, 268 yards, 1 touchdown. There's a difference. He threw for a touchdown. The other team didn't. Other than that, it was all field goals. If I'm being honest. Well, yeah. Well, not all field goals, but because there was a rushing touchdown for the Patriots also. And then I think they didn't miss an extra point, but I guess they went for 2 and they did not get it. I forgot what happened there. I'm not going to lie. I watched the game, but I also had to talk to people, so I forgot what happened there. But no, Vlad McConkey only had 32 receiving yards. Not helpful. That's also your leading receiver if you're the Chargers. That's not helpful. Ramondre Stevenson had 75. Keyshawn Boutte had 67. Hunter Henry had 64. You got help here. You had a receiving touchdown. Oh, wait, sorry. New England rushing did not have a touchdown. I misread. I was looking at receiving. Sorry. So it was only 1 touchdown, and that 1 touchdown made a whole difference. Drake May had 66 yards on the ground. Ramondre Stevenson, 53. Jeremy Anderson, 27. They got yards when they needed to, and they scored when they needed to. It was a very good defensive fought game, and that's kind of what you expect when you see Jim Harbaugh as a coach. You expect toughness and physicality. The offensive line didn't bring it, but his defense did. That's what you expect. We see Mike Vrabel. You expect defensive-minded. You expect, because he was a defensive player. And while he might be a defensive-minded head coach as a whole, he has physical teams, physical defenses specifically, and that's what he brought in, and that's what worked. Jim Harbaugh brings in physical teams, and Jesse Minter called a phenomenal defense, but Jim Harbaugh did not bring in a physical enough offensive line to help his offense win this game. Question is Justin Herbert a playoff liability? He's 0-3 in his playoff career. Is he a playoff liability, or has he just not had the right team around him yet? We'll find out as his career continues to pan out. And then for the final playoff game, you had the Texans winning 30-6 against the Steelers in what we call a good old-fashioned butt whooping. It was 7-6 at halftime, and then, well, the Texans scored 23 points in the fourth quarter. And again, this is what you call a good old-fashioned butt whooping. This is what you call Mike Tomlin saying, yeah, I'm going to step down, because if I don't, a lot of people are going to be mad at me. So I'm going to keep my dignity and step down instead of letting them fire me. Is that keeping your dignity, though, or is that you just running from your problems? Aaron Rodgers went 17-33, 146 yards, 1 interception. He got sacked 4 times. C.J. Stroud went 21-32, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So where do all these points come from? Well, Woody Marks also had 1 touchdown, rushing for 112 yards for the Texans, and the Texans ran for 164 yards as a whole, getting 48 yards from Nick Chubb. Whereas the Steelers only ran for 63, Jalen Warren had 43 rushing yards, and Kenneth Gainwell had 20. So again, where do touchdowns come? Well, the defense for the Texans scored not only on a pick six, but a fumble recovered for a touchdown, and run back for a touchdown. And when that ball gets in that big boy's hands, they gonna run. And he decided to run. Again, when a ball gets in a big boy's hands, he is going to run. And that is what he did. That is what the defense of the Texans did. They ran. And they sent it right to the end zone. Sheldon Rankins, 33-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Sheldon Rankins, again, big boy. But when that big boy gets the ball in his hands, his face lights up like it's Christmas morning. And he's like, I can score. I can score, Chief. I can get a touchdown for the first time. Maybe not the first time in his career, maybe it is. Depends. I actually don't know if Sheldon Rankins scored a fumble recovery for a touchdown, but he ran. The Texans had 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Sheldon Rankins had 1.5 sacks. And you're like, man, dude had a decent season. And if you're a Bengals fan, you're thinking, why couldn't we get in production like that last year? Well, maybe it's just because your team as a whole defensively sucked last year. Whereas the Texans does not. They actually have a solid defense. They have a really stout defense. So the Steelers, they had 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Jack Sawyer getting a sack. Keanu Benton getting a sack. And Derek Harmon getting a sack. Again, phenomenal game for the Texans. Not if you're a Steelers fan. Phenomenal game if you're a Texans fan. It was a fun game to watch. Either way. Close to halftime, then blowout later. Sometimes that happens. Again, will that be the last game we see Aaron Rodgers play? And then, are the Texans good enough to make it all the way to the Super Bowl? They have to win every single game on the road. Are they good enough to make it to the Super Bowl and then win the Super Bowl? They have a phenomenal defense. Will that offense continue to show up enough for them? We also had some crazy college basketball games. Wisconsin upsets Michigan 91-88 in a crazy second half. That was a phenomenal game. Wisconsin was led by John Blackwell with 26 points, Nick Boyd with 22. And then, excuse me, sorry. Get a drink here. Alexis, I don't even know how to say his last name, had 17 points. Wisconsin looked good in this game all around. They fought. They looked really good. They battled. Michigan was led by Elliot Cadeau with 19 points. Then Morez Johnson Jr. with 18. Yaxel Lendenborg with 14. Namari Burnett with 10. If you're Michigan, I wouldn't be so mad. Losses are helpful. It keeps the ship on track. Sometimes, if you never lose and you just keep riding high, you can go off into la-la land and just lose focus when it comes to March. One loss helps you rein in, helps you look at your weaknesses and say, let's attack. Now, no one likes to lose. No one wants to lose. But losses can be helpful. I mean, let's be real. When's the last time we had an undefeated team win a national championship in college basketball? Not any time recently. So, losing to Wisconsin was, while it might not be everything you wanted, and you were at your own home court, it's going to be beneficial in the long run. Now, does it help that you shot 32% from three? No. 8-25. That's not great, not bad, not terrible, but it's not what you want. They just shot better. They shot 45% from three, 50% from the field, and 70% from the free throw line. You shot 92% from the free throw line. You went 22-24. They went 18-23, but they went 15-33 from the three-point line, and you both went 29, made 29 field goals. They went 29-58. You went 29-62. So, again, you're going to look at it, okay, well, it's a good game. You had 9 turnovers. They had 10. You had 1 steal. They had 5. You had 5 blocks. They had 4. So if you're Michigan, you're not going to be. You sad you lost, but you're not going to be licking your wounds, saying, "Oh, woe is me." You're going to be getting back to work. Nebraska stays undefeated, going against Indiana, down 16 in the second half, and Nebraska comes back and wins the game. Down 16 in the second half, and you come back and win the game, 83-77. That is phenomenal. They were led by Jamarcus Lawrence with 27 points, then Rink Mass with 13, then Price Sanford with 12, and then Braden Frager with 11. They have looked really good this year. They are a team that could maybe go on a very deep run come March. Tucker DeVry and Lamar Wilkerson were the backbone of Indiana. Lamar Wilkerson had 32 points, and Tucker DeVry had 17. The only other person that then touches double digits is Reed Bailey. Again, the backbone of Indiana, Lamar Wilkerson, Tucker DeVry, and you saw that. Nebraska went 41% from the three-point line, going 14-34, 48% from the field, and 79% from the free throw line, going 11-14. Indiana went 82% from the free throw line, 14-17, 37% from the three-point line, 11-30, and 46% from the field goal line. These Big Ten basketball games have been phenomenal to watch. Indiana had 4 steals. Nebraska had 9. Nebraska only turned the ball over 8 times. Indiana turned it over 14. You cannot turn the ball over 14 times and expect to win a game. It's like me handing somebody $5, or let's say it's like me handing someone $50, and then turning the person next to me and say, "Hey, this guy stole my money. This guy stole $50 from me." No, they'll say, "Dog, you handed it to him." I mean, when you turn the ball over 14 times, that's on you. You handed them that game, Ben. You turn it over 6 less times, maybe you win that game. Points off turnovers matter. Turnovers matter. You can't do it at that high of a rate. Arizona beat the TCU Horned Frogs 86-73. Arizona stays undefeated. They're phenomenal, led by Koa Pete with 20 points, Jaden Bradley with 17, and then Anthony Delorso with 17 also. Anthony Delorso, again, is a phenomenal six-man candidate of the year. Six-man player of the year candidate. TCU was led by Tanner Toulson with 20 points, David Punch with 10, Jaden Pierre 11, and Brock Kern 11. It's a close-fought-ish game in the second half, but you're down 43-27 in the first half. That's not helpful. That's a 16-point deficit. So then when you outscore them 46-43 in the second half, so you outscore them by 3, it doesn't help you. If you keep that first half closer, this is a closer game and maybe a different game that you would have won. But Arizona picks up a decent win on the road, and then we go to undefeated. Tennessee gets their butt whooped by the Florida Gators, 91-67. I did not see that coming. Especially after Florida loses to Missouri. Now then they get their get back against Georgia, but it's like, what do we know about Florida? They say, hold up, don't count your eggs before they hatch. We're still here, we're still alive. They were led by Boogie Fland, who had his best game of the year, 9-13 from the field, 3-6 from the three-point line, 2-4 from the free throw line. If he can do that, guess what? That's consistency. That's the guard play that you need. That's what you got last from Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, Will Richard. That's what you get here. And if he can do that consistently, they're going to be a dangerous team because they have the bigs. They need the guards to show up. Xavier Lee had 10 points, 3 of 8 from the field, 2 of 7 from the three-point line, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Boogie Fland had 5 assists. Xavier Lee had 3. And Boogie Fland also had 4 steals, so he has had one heck of a game, even after getting 2 fouls early on in the first half. Both of them, they did not get a foul the rest of the game, and that led to success. Ruben Chinyelu had 17 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 16 rebounds. Dude is a tank. Again, his head is his arms are probably the size of my head. Sorry, that's what I was trying to think. His arms are probably the size of my head. Now, maybe not as much, but, he has huge arms. Tommy Hoff had 13, Alex Conner had 11, and Urban Klobsar had 15, another guard that stepped up, went 4 of 10 from the field, 3 of 9 from the three-point line, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. They went 9 of 30 from the three-point line, shooting 30%, 20 of 25 from the free throw line, going 80%, and 48% from the field. 9 of 30, going 30% from the three-point line is not great, but it was good enough to win the game. They turned the ball over 10 times. They had 14 assists, 13 steals, 3 blocks. They did a good job of not turning the ball over more than Tennessee, because Tennessee had 18 turnovers. Tennessee was led by Nate Amen with 17 points, 5-11 from the field, 2 of 4 from the three-point line, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Then Dewanne Brown with 10 points, Jacoby Gillespie with 12, and Jalen Carey with 12. They went 6 of 15 from the three-point line, shooting 40%, 19 of 29 from the free throw line, shooting 66%. That is hot trash. And 43% from the field. When you go 6 of 15 from the three-point line, guess what? If your opponent shoots and makes more threes than you, that's a success. I don't care if I'm Florida, if I shot 30% from the three-point line. If I made 9 and they made 6, I made 3 more than they did. Also, if you are Tennessee, you got out-rebounded 41-30. And you also turn the ball over 18 times. That cannot happen. That is a recipe to disaster. That is a recipe to a roller coaster falling off its tracks and crashing and burning. And will Tennessee crash and burn against Florida, losing 67-91. Tennessee falls to 11-5, and Florida goes to 11-5. If that is correct, yeah. And then Auburn waxes Arkansas in 95-73. Again, another waxing, another demolition of a team that you did not expect. Auburn was led by Keyshawn Hall, 32 points. Keyshawn Murphy, 16. Both Keyshawns had a good game. They went off. They did their thing. Kevin Overton, 10. And then Elijah Freeman, 13. As a team, they went 57% from the field, 45% from the three-point line, going 10-22, 71% from the free throw line, going 17-24, with 10 turnovers, 37 rebounds, and 20 assists. They moved the ball. And they, and they did their job. Arkansas, as a team, shot 38% from the three-point line, 71% from the field, and 43% from 71% from the free throw line, 43% from the field, and only 11 turnovers. So what went wrong if you're Arkansas? Well, you took less shots than they did. They took 60. You took 58. You went 25 of 58. They went 34 of 60. They shot 57% from the field. You shot 43. They shot 45% from the three-point line. You shot 38. Now, 30% from the three-point line is not terrible, but when you go 8 for 21 and they go 10-22, 10-22 beats 8 of 21. And then they went 17-24 from the free throw line. You went 15-21. That just adds up to why you lost by 22, which is kind of a surprising margin if you think about it. Because Arkansas has been looking good, mostly. Arkansas was led by Darius Acuff Jr., 19 points, 7-6 from the field, 2 of 6 from the three-point line, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Then Trevor Brazile with 13, and Malik Thomas with 17, and Malik Ewan with 13. Again, they got waxed. They got rebounded 37-28. That's not a recipe to success. They got destroyed. They had more turnovers than they did assists, whereas Auburn had double the amount of turnovers to assist ratio, 20-10, 20 assists to 10 turnovers. One team succeeded that night, the other one didn't. Then you also have Texas beating Alabama, a ranked Alabama upsetting Texas. Sean Miller in Texas upsetting Alabama. Texas was led by Jordan Pope with 28 points, Dalen Swain with 18, Tremont Mark with 18. Alabama led by LeBaron Fine with 21, Adine Holloway with 18, and Aiden Sherrill with 13, and Amari Allen with 11, and Taylor Ball-Bowen with 11. 92-88. That game came down to the wire. It was 46-45 at halftime, and 46-43 in the second half to Texas advantage. That's how they win by 4. If you're Alabama, you just look and you see we lost a close game at home. It's tough. Those will happen. But also you got to look at it and say, okay, we shot 39% from the three-point line, going 11-28. That's not bad. 44% from the field. Could be better, not terrible. 70% from the free throw line. Could be better, not terrible. 19-27. We had 38 rebounds, 16 assists, 7 turnovers. What went wrong? Well, the other team went 42% from the three-point line, 45% from the field, so higher percentages in those aspects, and then 69% from the free throw line. They shot worse from the free throw line percentage-wise, but they made more free throws, 22 of 32, whereas you went 19-27. They also out-rebounded you by 10. They also only turned the ball over 7 times, just like you, and they had 9 assists. So where you look at it is the rebound column really helped Texas in this aspect compared to Alabama. Some other games that we had, again, we already went over Arizona and TCU, Wisconsin, Michigan. You had Iowa State beating Oklahoma State 83-71. You had UConn beating DePaul 72-60. Purdue beating Penn State 93-85. Duke beating SMU 82-75 in what was a close game, even though SMU did not have their best player in Boopie Miller. Well, they didn't need him apparently to at least keep it close, but they could not prevail and win. Houston won against Baylor 77-55. BYU beat Utah 89-84. Vanderbilt stays undefeated, beats LSU go and wins 84-73. Texas Tech beats Colorado 73-71. North Carolina beats Wake Forest 87-84. Georgia beats South Carolina 75-70. Louisville beat Boston College 75-62. And Virginia beat Stanford 70-55. We also have West Virginia upsetting Kansas 86-75. You had a lot of games. I was not going to cover every single game because this video would then be all day long. And, well, I know you're not going to then want to watch an all day long video. Illinois beat Iowa on Sunday 75-69 in a ranked matchup. UCF beat Cincinnati 73-72. Cincinnati fans are not happy with Wes Miller. Today you have Michigan State playing Indiana, Louisville playing Virginia, Clemson, Boston College, Texas A&M and Tennessee playing, UConn, Seton, West Virginia, Houston, Iowa State and Kansas, Oregon and Nebraska, Alabama, Mississippi State, and Florida and Oklahoma. You have some phenomenal games today. You also have some phenomenal NFL playoff games coming up this Saturday and Sunday as well. On Thursday, we'll make those picks for the NFL playoff games, and next Monday's National Championship in college football. I hope you guys have a great day, a great rest of your day, great rest of your week going up to Thursday. And then on Thursday, we'll come back with another video. God bless you guys. That's Game Talk 24/7. Thank you guys for watching.